Story I was talking about, the story was, the story was, I wanted to, I was hearing a lot of black women, a lot of black females talking you know, a lot of sort of like crazy shit a lot of the time. Black women talk a lot of demands from black men. Oh, we want black men to do this, we want black men to do this, we want black men to do that. Or how can black men be do this and that, while it's the same black females accept no demands when they're dealing with white men. So the story when I was what I wanted to take was about black women. I've noticed one thing which has happened recently. I've noticed that black females kind of know their places when they're dealing with white men, and I've seen quite a lot of them. Most of the time, when you say a black woman, she's got these funny, lousy, ridiculous smiles when they're dealing with Caucasian men, trying to make it look like they're living in a fairy tale type lifestyle, giving a false impression of happiness, like they're living in some, they're living a fairy tale lifestyle when they're dealing with Caucasian men, when in reality, it's not what it looks like. Everything you see in this world is not what it looks like. Many people think grass is greener on the other side. There ain't no grass greener there. It's nothing but an illusion of, it's nothing but an illusion. Now, here's what I want to, here's the main topic I wanted to say here. I want to say some reasons I've noticed recently. I've noticed that a lot of black females have got this mentality. One thing I've noticed, that they've got these ridiculous demands they have for black men, but they've got no demands when it comes to dealing with Caucasian men. They seem to have this, a sort of like an unconditional love for Caucasian men. They seem to have this unconditional love for Caucasian men, but they've got this ridiculous sort of like, crazy demands when they're dealing with brothers. But now, this is the story I want to talk, and I wanted to say to the brothers here, many black men in America. I went to America 7 years ago, and I did some study research to say a lot of black females seems to act. A lot of black women were complaining that black women seem to walk with these ego boost mentalities, that somehow they wear pants, or they've got these selfish egos they carry around, when they're everywhere, especially when they're dealing with the black men. A lot of black women, they've got these selfish egos which they carry around a lot, and such egos have repelled a lot of brothers, because no one wants to be disrespected with a female. Nobody wants that. Now, one thing I noticed is that black females seems to have they seem to know their place when they're dealing with Caucasian or white men. I've noticed that a lot of black females, when that they seem to be, to put this fake, illusion of happiness when they're dealing with Caucasian men, making it look like, even if I look at a Caucasian woman, white women who are married to Caucasian men, they don't have those fairy tale smiles. I see black women. I see black women when they're dealing with Caucasian men. If you look at a Caucasian woman who's married to a white man, they don't have that fairy tale illusion or fairy tale smile like everything is okay. Caucasian females who are married to white men, they don't have those impressions. Even if they're both rich, even if they're both celebrities or whatever, they don't have that false impression. I seem to see a lot of, all the time when I see a black females with a Caucasian man, every time you say a black female with a Caucasian man, you look at the smile of a black woman, it's all up to here, but I don't see it on other races who deal with Caucasian men, which include Arabs, Asian, and things of that nature. I don't see them portraying that false narrative of happiness, what I see on black females. or even if a Caucasian woman who's married to a white rich man, or even if both of them are rich, I don't see those false illusion of happiness. Most of the time I always see them on black females. All the time you see a black woman with a Caucasian man, she's all looking like she's 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 sort of like eating the cream of the pie, which is not what it looks like. Now, the story I wanted to talk here about was what I've noticed, that black females seem to know their place when they're dealing with Caucasian men. And I've done a research in America to see why they act like that. Why do black females appear to have appear to know their place when they're in the arms of a Caucasian man, or when they're married to a Caucasian man, or when they're dealing with a Caucasian man? A lot of black females seems to know their place. And I've done the research, and I was shocked with the research, because the research, I had to go to America and see some stuff, visit a lot of brothers in different cities: Chicago, New York, Texas, Philadelphia, California, to mention just a few. But what I've noticed is that a lot of black men, they don't know why black women act nasty to them, and why black women don't act nasty to Caucasian men. Now, the research I've done is I was shocked with the outcome of why black females seems to know their place only when they're dealing with Caucasian men. Now, this is what I found out. Black men in America, they don't know why black women know their place when they're dealing with Caucasian men. The reason why black females know their place when they're dealing with the Caucasian men is that a lot of black females in America come through slavery. Most of them were sort of like genetically modified. Slaves were bred to be docile. So you need to understand that the slaves were docile, and the Caucasian men, most of them, they were dealing with the slave black females. They're not dealing with black men, because the black men cannot give birth. You know what I'm saying? So they were breeding females, and females which were more loyal and submissive, they were the ones which were to produce more and more slaves. 99% of the time it was slave master breeding with slave. So they ended up breeding the slaves with the one sort of like a cow. When you want a cow which produces milk, you look at the cow with the biggest breasts. The cows with the biggest breasts are the cows which produce more milk. Cows with the little breasts, you get rid of them and send them to the slaughter. They don't, they're not profitable in the milk production. Or animals which, or in case of a dog, if you want a dog which bites, what do? You keep the dog which is the most vicious, and the one which is, like a pit bull dog. If you look at the lineage of pit bull dogs, only the one which bites a lot, a vicious one which bites a lot, is kept. The loser, the one which is weak and doesn't bite, you get a lot of the time they get rid of it. It's wasted. So the same thing was done on slave females. So that's why a lot of black people in America come from that pedigree. A lot of black females were like sort of like a genetically modified, a person who's modified to suit you. A lot of black females you see in America, they were modified that way during slavery. They were bred that way, and most of the breeders were Caucasian men. And that's why even today the presence of all Caucasian globally, they benefit from those type of experiments. Because why? Because a genetically modified person who was bred to please is like slaves. What was the job of a slave? Slaves were to please their slave master in whatever they demand. So you know what I mean? So fast forward today, a lot of people carry the same gene pool of that slavery breeding. You breed the slaves, the most slaves with the biggest booty, and to do what you want, a huge slave. So that's what they were doing back in slavery. So they sort of like slave masters were sort of like genetically modifying slaves to suit them, to do what they want, because back in the day it was big business. You know what I mean? So what you see now is what I'm trying to explain to these brothers, like black females, why black females seems to know their place when they're dealing with Caucasian men. Some of the reason is because of slavery. They're genetically modified that way. A black woman is not a problem to a Caucasian man, because already they were genetically modified to be docile to their slave masters. And the slave master, all slave masters were Caucasian. So every Caucasian globally on earth here is going to benefit when they're dealing with a black woman, because she was modified genetically to be submissive to him. You know, so if a Caucasian man or an Asian man or any people who are not black, they're going to benefit from those experiments, which is slavery linked. You know what I'm saying? So a black woman, why they are rebellious and nasty towards a black man, again, what was happening to black males during slavery? Slave masters were more brutal to the slaves, black males. You know what I'm saying? So what black female slaves used to see that, so that's why a black female slave is more likely to be nasty towards black males. Why? Because during slavery she watched the slave master being brutal to black males, to black male slaves. So she used to watch that. So, and then she was trained to be nasty towards people who are black too. Same way she was bred to slaves were dogs. The same thing like a dog. Pit bull dogs are more nasty and vicious towards other dogs. They were bred to be extremely vicious to other dogs, but they are never vicious to the owner. You see, so black females come from that pedigree. The owner here is Caucasian man. Caucasian man is the owner. Yeah. Remember, they went to the continent in Africa and took, so they owned. They are the owners of black females, even today in America. Who's the black females owners? It's Caucasian men. They are the rightful owners of a black woman. That's why a black female is not a problem to a Caucasian man. Why? They already changed. A black woman was already sort of like a genetically modified to suit him, genetically modified to please him. Now, if you look at what were the duties of black females during slavery, they were to do everything the Caucasian slave masters want. Everything. Sweep the floor, wash my clothes, clean that, go and do this in the field, in the plantation field, blah blah blah. And at night when you finish, come and what? Sexually please me. You have to please me at the end. So that was the duties of black females. They were a pleaser. You know what I mean? That was their job, to please the slave masters. And the slave masters didn't care how they brutalize you. Whether you work, whether you are hungry or you didn't eat, they would still come and say, at the end of the day, end of the night, you come and please me. Whatever I want, whatever I demand, you're going to come and please me tonight. And every time they do that, they were training the black female slave masters to please them unconditionally. They were training a slave master. He didn't care. They would come to his slaves and say, well, if you don't do, they'll come like this to a female slave. Okay, if you don't do A, B, and C, I'm going to hang you. So a slave master, the female slaves knew that despite doing everything, what was their jobs? The black females they were to take care of slave masters' children, which were Caucasian, and then take care of the children, take care of a Caucasian man's household, the household of a Caucasian man. They had to take care of the house, clean everything, take care of the slave master's children and his wife, and then at night they were to sexually please the slave master at the end. You see what I'm saying? Despite whether this was based on whether they like it or not. So they were bred into. That's why a lot of black females are emotionless today. But emotionless because the emotions were removed during slavery. 90% of black females you see in America most of them are heartless or emotionless. Why? That was the emotions of a woman and of femininity of a female or of a woman was removed back in slavery, because the slave masters didn't care whether you're crying or not, whatever black females were going through back then in slavery. Slave masters will still demand, you need to come into the bedroom and sexually please me, whether you like it or not. You see, so they dehumanized a woman. They would make you like, when you come to please me, you better put up a smile. You better smile. You better everything I want to see. You better be a woman to me. So they modeled, sort of like genetically modeled a black woman to suit them. You understand me? So At the same time, this was black men were nowhere. Black men were nowhere. Black men were busy in the field, in the plantation fields. That's why even today, no Caucasian person on planet Earth is going to have a problem with a black woman. Why? They already been modeled for them. Is what I mean. Science already been modeled. If you're dealing with something which is called a customer-centered, a customer-centered product, it's a product which is modified and changed to suit you. A lot of black females have been what they call Caucasian-centered females. They're Caucasian-centered. What it means is that a lot of black females are modeled to suit the wishes and the likes of Caucasian men, not black men, because that was done during slavery. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So a lot of brothers have no idea. It's in the history. It's in the pedigree of a lot of black people in America. It's in the pedigree in their history. I went to America when I was studying this. I was like, oh my God, this is what was happening to black people in America during slavery? And I was shocked. The moment I see that, I realized, oh my God, black men are the ones who are going to be in trouble. Why? Because a lot of black men have no idea what they're dealing. A lot of black men have, if you start knowing that you think of this, think of your situation in which your wife is has been modified to suit your friends' wishes and likes, not to suit you, and you are married to her. You are going to be in trouble with when you are dealing with her, and your wife is going to be your friend is going to be. It will be easy watching your friends dealing with your wife, but you dealing with your wife, you are going to have problems. But if the wife is modified to suit your friend will be surprised, like, you know, man, your wife is very easy to me. I can ask her to do A, B, and C. She'll do it smiling. But how come you're complaining that she can't do A, B, and C? This is exactly what black Americans are going through. You know, this is exactly what black American males are going through today. They don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know that when you're dealing with a female, like most of these black men in America, they don't know what they're dealing with when they're dealing with the black American females. Look at their pedigree and their lineage. You see, look at what was happening back in the days. Black females have never seen, a lot of black women in America have never seen black men's dominance. They've never seen black men's leadership or black men in charge. They've never seen that throughout the history since slavery. They've never seen things of that nature. So the only person they submit to is what they see. Just like a dog. A dog only submits to the owner. It doesn't matter whether a dog, you kick a dog's teeth and or you beat him with a stick. Because you are the owner, he's going to come and please you and submit to it, regardless. That's what you are dealing with exactly when you're dealing with black female. This is why a lot of Caucasian men have no problem dealing with a black woman, because already their ancestors have done the job already. They have already produced a pedigree type of black females you see today, you know, who are suitable for Caucasian men. It doesn't matter what they're Caucasian men. This is why you see a lot of black females, they complain towards black men. Oh, black men do this. In order for black women put standards on black men. They don't put no standard for Caucasian men. Why? Because during slavery, Caucasian men, wherever they look, there was no barrier. A Caucasian man would come to any black female. They would pick any black females they like. They didn't care. You see what I'm saying? So back in the days, already a black woman was changing. Black females knew that if a Caucasian man pick you to come and please him tonight, you will go and do the job. It doesn't matter whether a black woman was whatever their looks, they're nothing as far as Caucasian men are concerned. You see what I'm saying? This is why a lot of black men, they have no idea, because black men in America, they're not study, they're not academically, into the research. A lot of them, they're not into that. As a result, so they miss a lot of points, historical points of what happened to them, or why they act the way they act. It's in their history. You see what I'm saying? That's why you see a lot of black females you see today, black females seem to know her place when they're dealing with Caucasian. Why? Because Caucasian men have already modeled them to please them already. Something which a lot of brothers in America have no clue. Black men in America have no clue that when they're dealing with a black woman was not modeled for you. She was modeled for them. Even if you listen to the Bible, you look at the Bible it says, let us make man into our own image. Why? You see what I'm saying? Take the same roles. A lot of Caucasian men use the Bible to do the same thing which was done long time in the Bible. You can produce something to be centered to satisfy you. Sadly, black men were not aware of things like that which was happening throughout their history. They had no clue. You know what I'm saying? But they're the ones which are going to be victims of those experiments. You know what I'm saying? But that's exactly what I noticed when I went to America. That's why you see a lot of black females, they know their place when they're dealing with Caucasian men. Why? They were modeled by Caucasian men to be like that to them. Historically, you saw what I'm saying? They didn't care whether a black woman was crying. They would tell you, if you don't please me tonight, I'm going to hang you. If you're not going to suck me tonight or please me tonight, I will put you on a tree, hang you and burn you alive. So the black females realized that regardless, they had to please the slave master. They had to please the slave master. Whether the slave master is like, whether the black woman was working in the slave plantation from morning to sunset, the slave master will come and pick you, 1, 2, 3, 4 black females. Come at home to bedroom tonight at 10 o'clock. I want you to do this to me. I want you to please me here, this and this and that. Regardless of whether they're hungry, eaten, tired, what, it didn't matter. Now, repeat that for 400 years. Think of it. Repeat that 400 years. Slave masters will pass that mentality to their sons, to their children, to repeat the cycle to the slave female. And then by the time they released slaves and say, okay, you are now free, a lot of black females are already psychologically damaged already. You see, it doesn't matter. That's why you can't release a domesticated animal into the wild. It's the same principle. You can't release a domesticated animal into the wild. Why? They cannot survive in the wild. It's the same thing. You see slaves, you see black females. By the time the brain was already damaged, even if Caucasian men said, okay, slavery is over, you've got freedom, people have been psychologically damaged. And without repairing it, it's not going to work. It's over. Sadly, the victims are going to be black men. Any Caucasian person today, they'll benefit. Why? Their forefathers have already done the job already. They have already produced a slave which is centered for them, but not necessarily for black males. So that's what a lot of black men are dealing with. That's why what you see in America, if you look at a black woman, is more likely to be, docile and submissive to Caucasian men. Why? Because historically, they always been subjected to, no matter how brutal slave masters or no matter how brutal Caucasian men were, they'll still come to that female, whether she's crying or not. Wipe your tears now, or else you're going to be, put you, or else you're going to hang you or put you in fire. So she knew that she needed to wipe her tears quick and please the slave master, regardless of what slave masters were doing. Regardless. That's why a lot of black females, even today, Caucasian men of everywhere, they can come from Australia, Germany, wherever. As long as they're in America, they will benefit from a black woman. They always benefit from it because they're dealing with creatures. They're dealing with creatures which were genetically modified slavery a long time ago. For them, you saw them, some slaves with DNA changed to please them. So you can go to America even if you're a Caucasian man. A black woman is going to be easy for you. But for black men now, black men are going to be the victim. Because the female, it's like your female was changed to be nasty to you and to be docile to the slave master and his children. A lot of black men, they had no idea at that time. But black men were victims at that time. You know what I'm saying? So fast forward that to the present day. That's what a lot of black American males are dealing with. You know what I mean? So, like I noticed, a lot of black men are saying, oh, how come these black women seem to be docile and submissive to Caucasian? Because a lot of black men have no idea that it's in the history. You know what I'm saying? It's in your history. Look at your history. Your own history is going to answer why they act like that. Your own history is going to answer like that. Throughout the history, a lot of black females used, when they were born, the person who was the alpha and on top of them was always a slave master or Caucasian man. They were always the ones in charge. So she has never ever seen a black man. Even today, 90%, I went to America, they said 90% of black children grow up without father. So they've never seen a black man. The only thing they see is Caucasian men and things of that nature. And worse off, during slavery, they were modeling them towards, to please them of that nature. That's why, to mention just a few, I've noticed even the demands, all the demands, black women talking about how, black men disrespect us, this black men disrespect us. A Caucasian man can come to a black woman and disrespect them 10,000 times worse, and she will still submit. So I don't buy a lot of what I listen to a black woman. Every time a black woman talks, to me it makes me sick. I feel like throwing up because I've done my research on why they behave the way they behave. When you're dealing with something, it's like I know what they're going to say before they say it, or I know why they say what they say because I've done the research already. But a lot of black males, sadly, in America, they've never done any research of why black women act the way they do. You know what I'm saying? I've already done my research. I don't have problem with a black woman. I don't even talk with a black woman at all, because I know I'm dealing with sort of like a genetically modified creature in front of me. So I don't. It's like you're dealing with something. When you're dealing with the dogs or something which was designed to be like that. Slave masters used to give they created what you call, they used to enjoy to see, they used to make slaves hate each other so that slaves don't plan to escape. So they used to create a situation in which one slaves, they would tell another slaves, go and whip that slave over there so that he does things good. That was designed to make slaves hate themselves. So they would give another slave. All the time when a slave master was dealing with black people, they always give some rewards to one slave to attack other slave, so that both of slaves are not gonna bond. You know what I'm saying? So that, and the slave masters will feel good knowing that these slaves are not gonna bond, they're not gonna have any unity, because now they're going to hate each other. So they always make sure that slaves must hate each other. They give one incentive and they won't give another slave anything. They will come to two different slaves, even if they work in the same field together. They would come and give, one slave is given a loaf of bread and another slave is given a half of bread, doing the same work. That was a way to say, you need, all the time when you're dealing with a slave, always give one, favor one, and leave the other. That way they're not going to bond. They will have a hatred of each other. So slave masters knew that they need to divide them all the time. Don't make it equal. That way the one who feels disadvantaged is going to hate the other. That way the slave masters will feel safe that these slaves are not going to escape. They're not going to do anything to him, because one will spy on the other. That was all those things were done in slavery. And if we fast forward today, it's like self-hated, where it came from back in the days. Even if we have got black males alone, they won't do certain things because they were never to, sort of like to unite and things of that nature. Other slaves were always given incentives that you are better than that one. That one is not as good as you, so that you don't form any unity or something like that. That's called, some people call it divide and conquer, but it has got a lot of tactics which were used back in the days. But here the story I was making, like why a lot of black men have no idea why black females seems to. I just wanted to explain a few reasons of why black women have got seems to know their place only when they're dealing with Caucasian men. Some of the points I mentioned like that. And remember, Caucasian men are the only men who can heal a black woman. Only Caucasian men are the only men who can heal a black woman. Why? Because they are the only males who destroyed a black woman. They destroyed the black woman's mentally. They destroyed the black woman during slavery. They dehumanized a black woman. They split children, a pregnant woman. They would split a stomach, take the child alive. They dehumanized and destroyed the mental esteem. So it cannot be repaired by black males. But as far as the black man is concerned, we're external energy. We're the only person who can heal. And why a black woman is only submits to a Caucasian man? Because he's the owner of a black woman, number one. Number two, he's the one who made the self-hatred of black females you see in America. Self-hatred came from Caucasian men. They're the ones who created that self-hatred. So they're the only ones who can heal a black woman. You can tell a black woman is beautiful, is this, it's not going to work. Black females they need to listen and hear that from Caucasian men. Why? Because historically, they're the men who come and dehumanize the black woman. They come and say, you are a gorilla, you are not a human being, you are 1/5 of a human being, you are this and that. And at the same time, they would come to the same black female slave and say, please me here. I want you to please me tonight. If you don't, I'll put you on a tree and hang you. So they didn't give it. They didn't care whether the slave cries or what. They didn't care. They would come and dehumanize a black woman and say, I want you to do the A, B, and C. I want you to work from morning to 9 o'clock. Before you eat, I want you to come and please me here. If you don't, I will hang you or burn you on a tree. You know what I'm saying? So they're the ones who really destroyed the mental scope of black females. That's why only a Caucasian man is the only healer of a black woman. This is why you see a lot of black females submit to him. Because why? They're the only males who destroyed that black creature. As a black man, look, if you didn't break it, don't fix it. I didn't break a black woman. I'm not interested in fixing her at all. The people who destroyed her are Caucasian men. Who should protect the black communities in America? Caucasian men. Why? They're the ones in charge of America. Who is responsible for fixing Chinese community in China? Chinese males. Who's responsible for fixing Arab communities in the Arab countries? Arab males. Who's responsible for Europe? Europe males. Same thing in America. Caucasian men are responsible for black community because they're the ones in charge of America. You don't give that responsibility to an average black man. No. Because they're the ones with the police, they're the ones who run the security, they're the ones. A black man is an average Joe. He does not have power over anything. You see what I'm saying? You can be born there, but they don't have power over security. The security always goes to those in charge of the nation, those who run the powers of the nation, not an average black man. That is the only story I wanted to talk to a lot of black men in America who have no clue of what they're talking about. But I just wanted to mention them because a lot of black men are not thinkers in America. I may think I do a lot of research, So, like I said, I wanted to mention just a few of why a lot of black females know their place when they're dealing with Caucasian men. I mentioned just a few to black men so that they know the reasons why black women act nasty and rebellious towards you. Because during slavery, they would watch, slave masters brutalizing slaves, and a lot of black females are more likely to act the same way as their slave masters to brutalize black men and things of that nature. Why? Because they learned that is a form of pleasing their slave master. They know it already, but a lot of black American males, they seem to have no clue. That's when I realized these people are not reading, they are not researching, they're not doing anything. But for me, I just mentioned just a few. And that's why every demand of a black woman, I don't listen to black women talking. No. Black women only accept everything you do when it's coming from a Caucasian man. Black females don't like black leadership from a black man. No, because they've never had it, number one. They've never experienced it, they've never seen it. So don't even try to please them and say, I need to do this for blah, blah, blah. They've never seen anything of that nature from a black man. That's why they accept everything which black female has to come through a Caucasian man. Because they're the ones who really destroyed a black woman's esteem. A black woman. I was watching Serena Williams, another black woman with a bigger giant booty. She was being disrespected by Caucasian men, treated like a gorilla. They put pictures of her as a gorilla. A lot of pictures of Serena Williams depicting her as a monkey, a baboon, a gorilla, this and that. And she was smiling simply because she's married to a Caucasian. She's not married to a Caucasian. She's forcing herself into people who don't like her. Because Caucasian men know how they modify the black woman. No matter whatever they do, they know she's going to come and submit to them. They have already destroyed her esteem. Majority of a lot of black women in America, the esteem has been destroyed during slavery. Because Caucasian men will tell you, you're ugly, you're a gorilla, you're this and this, you look ugly, you look like a chimpanzee, you look this and this. And while they're doing that, they'll come and say, please me now, please me. I want you to sexually please me. If you don't, I'll hang you. They completely do. This is why a lot of black females here, their mentality has been screwed up, not by black men, but by Caucasian men. That's why the only person who has to heal them is the same person who destroyed them. This person who destroyed them is this person with the keys to heal them. That's why they submit to the same person who's Caucasian men. You see, they submit. Why? They're the ones who destroyed them. They're the ones who destroyed their esteem. This is why you see black women in America fight for weaves. Today they could be as dark as me with the Caucasian weaves, blonde weaves, and you know what I'm saying. Why they're trying to do that? They're trying to please the Caucasian males. I'm not trying to do it. It has nothing to do with us. That's why as a black man, don't waste your time trying to please a black woman. You're not going to. You didn't destroy her, so you don't even think you're going to please a black woman. You're wasting your time. Never ever try to please a black woman. Why? She will never accept anything from you. She would wants it to white because slave masters were the ones who destroyed her. Only Caucasian men were the ones who destroyed her. They're the ones who should heal her, not me. I'm not responsible to a black woman. So it doesn't surprise me why a lot of black men are spooked by the nasty nature of a black woman in the black community, and they run away to Caucasian females. And Caucasian men know that. This is why a lot of Caucasian men allow a lot of black men to date Becky's. You see what I'm saying? They allow them. Why? Because they know they've destroyed a black woman. They know they're the ones who destroy black females. So what they do? They allow brothers to say, okay, you can date Becky. You can date these Beckys. They allow them. Why do they allow them? They know what they've done. You see, if without knowing what they've done, they would have never allowed black men to date Beckys or Caucasian girls. They would have never allowed them. They would have never, but because they know what they've done, that's why they allow it. You see what I'm saying? Because they know, oh my God, we're the ones responsible for destroying these females like this. So where are these black men gonna go? Then they discuss, oh, we need to give them room for that. It's not necessarily mean that that's what they like. No, they're trying to correct what they've done. To say, okay, let's allow them a little bit to just hang around with these Beckys, with a couple of few Beckys. Because we're the ones who are responsible. They know that already. You see what I'm saying? A lot of black men, they don't know. They don't do that to say, okay, you can date Becky because that's what we want. No, it's not what they want. Because they allow you doesn't necessarily mean because it's what they want. No. Allowing, it doesn't necessarily mean, an allowance is something which someone can take back. If someone said, I'm allowing you to eat my sugar, that means I have the same power to stop you eating my sugar. You see, that's why it's an allowance. It's nothing to do with it. Oh, black men going to date this. No. It's an allowance. An allowance, that means something can be something which can be stopped. Caucasian men, they don't need to be allowed to go for a black female. They've never been a barrier. There's no barrier for Caucasian men dealing with the black females. They've no barrier. They've never been a barrier. Historically, they've never been. Since slavery, prior, before slavery, during slavery, after slavery, fast forward to the present day, they've never been a barrier. This is why Caucasian men don't need nothing to be with a black woman. They can go in Africa, any place where these black females exist, and just take as many as they can. They've never been a barrier. Historically, they've never been a barrier. The only barriers we put specifically for black men. Recently, a lot of black men who are dating these Beckies is through allowance. You see, because a lot of what I call mixed children, 99% of mixed children were coming between slave masters and black females, or slave masters' children and black females. They've never been from black men. Black men who are doing that are just a few in America, and one in a million in Africa here and there. To those who go to Europe or America, only 1 in 2 million or 1 in 3 million. But most of the sort of like interracial stuff is known through slave masters and black females. It has never been a barrier since they put sight in Africa, or since they saw black people, slave masters. They've never been a barrier to the globally. They've never been a barrier. Barriers were only for black males. So it explains why a lot of black men relationships with Caucasian has always been put on strains, under control, sort of like. There is no strain for a slave master and a black woman. There's never been a barrier or a stoppage. No, slave masters have always been having, advantages over black females. Why? Because historically, they would take as many as black females they like at any time, whether they like it or not. They would go for a black female, whether she likes it or not. And they would access them whether it's like. So there's no reason even to talk about it now, because it has been like that since before slavery, during slavery, prior, after, fast forward to today. It's never been a barrier. So that's the only thing I wanted to mention, just to inform brothers, because I noticed that a lot of brothers have no idea. So now that you've got some little bit of knowledge of why it's like that, and you realize. I'll see you on the next video, brothers. Bye bye.